For a presentation of a proclamation recognizing March 2024 as National Agricultural Month in Napa County. And for B, we will have a presentation of a proclamation recognizing March 2024 as Women's History Month in Napa County. And now we're on to Pet of the Week.
Madam Chair, if I may?
Yes, please.
We want to thank you for your patience in today's delayed start. We're going through a technological upgrade here in the board chambers to bring a better viewing experience to the public. We are experiencing some technical difficulties with Zoom, but we are live on the Granicus feed, which is our website. We are live on YouTube, so there's other venues, and we're live on Napa TV channel 28. Everything but Zoom is working, and we also do not have the public comment line today, but we hope to be up and running by the next board meeting. Thank you so much for your patience.
Thank you. Thank you to our clerk of the board and to her team for all the work they've put in over the last week and over the weekend, etc. Thanks. So good morning, Katie, and good morning, Buster. Just in time for spring and for Easter. So Buster is from our animal shelter, and I'm going to turn this over to Katie to tell you a bit about Buster.
Thank you so much. Good morning. So Buster was actually featured previously. The end of the year last year, we had a segment with the animal control officers, and Buster was with us. Buster has still not been adopted, and I cannot find out why. He's been at the shelter for over 200 days. He is an absolute sweetheart. He's social, litter box trained. He would make the perfect companion to any family, and so that's why I wanted to bring him back on here to hopefully get him in his forever home. Buster came to us as a stray from American Canyon city limits, and he is a neutered male, around 1.5 years old. And like I said, just an absolute dream. So this is Buster. I did also want to just hit briefly that we had some amazing citizens of our community put together a fundraiser, and all of the proceeds will be donated to the animal shelter, and that will be at the garage in Napa on March 23rd from 12 to 4, and that's on Action Avenue. So hopefully if you guys are around, you want some beer and some pizza, please come to Action Avenue on March 23rd, 12 to 4.
Great. Thank you, Katie, and thank you, Buster. Hope you find your forever home. Yes. Thanks so much. Okay. So Tracy and Peter and Rex and anyone else from the ag industry who'd like to come on up and help accept the proclamation, we'd love to have you. Great. I don't bite, I promise. Come on up. Okay, I'm going to read the proclamation and deliver to you, and then if you'd like to say a few words, and if anyone else would like to, that's fine as well. Whereas National Agriculture Month, recognized each March, acknowledges the vital role that agriculture plays in our local communities and across the nation, and celebrates the contributions of our dedicated farmers, ranchers, farm workers, local ag industries, and the entirety of our agricultural workforce. And whereas California farms, ranches, and plant nurseries generated over $51 billion in cash receipts, today more than 400 different commodities are grown in California, and 40% of U.S. harvested vegetable acres and 3/4 of U.S. fruits and nuts are grown in California. And whereas Napa County has more than 1,800 farms cultivating more than 46,000 acres of farmland, resulting in an ag production value of over $894 million in 2022. And whereas agriculture in Napa County is recognized as the highest and best use of the land, protected by the landmark Napa Valley Agricultural Preserve, established in 1968, and whereas Napa growers and ranchers are dedicated stewards of the land, striving to develop and improve sustainable farming practices with innovation, determination, and an eye to the future of agriculture in a changing environment. And whereas the agricultural workforce is honored as the primary driver of the County of Napa's overall economy, without whom Napa, as a world-renowned destination and place to reside, could not exist. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that this Board of Supervisors, County of Napa, State of California, on this 12th day of March, does hereby recognize March 2024 as National Agricultural Month in Napa County. We celebrate, honor, and promote the value of agriculture and the agricultural workforce in the County of Napa. Congratulations.
Couple of words. So good morning, Chair Gallagher, members of the board, Tracy Cleveland, Napa Ag Commissioner, Sealer of Weights and Measures. I want to extend a heartfelt thank you for acknowledging National Ag Month with the proclamation. Farming isn't just a job, it's the backbone of our community. It sustains us, it provides for us, and connects us to our land and our heritage. Celebrating agriculture is about honoring the hard work and dedication of our farmers and farm workers who tirelessly cultivate the land to feed our families and fuel our economy. It's a testament to their resilience and commitment, especially in the face of challenges, which we have many. Along with celebration comes a profound responsibility. Farmers bear the weight of feeding the world while stewarding our natural resources responsibly. They're custodians of our environment, tasked with balancing productivity with sustainability for future generations. So, as we recognize National Ag Month, let's not only celebrate the bounty of our land, but also reaffirm our support for the men and women who labor tirelessly to ensure its prosperity. Thanks for honoring their vital role in the community and beyond. Thank you.
Rex Stoltz, Napa Valley Vintners. I think the proclamation itself and the Ag Commissioner's statements just said it all. Can't think of many other places that this is more meaningful than Napa Valley, so thank you.
Peter Nissen, Napa County Farm Bureau. Wanted to thank the supervisors for recognizing Agricultural Month. Napa County Farm Bureau last Thursday hosted over 1,100 second and third graders, and our annual Ag Day was our 19th. We had students come from Pope Valley all the way down to American Canyon. They saw a lot of different things on ag that most kids don't even understand, whether it's milking cows, apiary, bee activities, a farrier. There's all kinds of nice introductions to kids. So not only does it help recognize the national achievements of what we have here on a local level, but we're trying to cultivate something for the future with what we have in our community with the different aspects of how to introduce the younger generation to the agriculture community. Thank you.
Michelle Benvenuto, Weingars of Napa County. We just want to thank the supervisors and Chair Gallagher and our Ag Commissioner and partners in the Ag community. And we all know what a special place Napa is, and we want to continue to protect and value agriculture here. So thank you.
Oh, can we get a photograph? Sure. Okay, come on. Thank you so much. We're going to move on to Women's History Month. And if I can invite those who are here to celebrate with us. And Melinda Dittman? Yes, great. Are you Sherry? Yeah, Sherry, right. And Sherry, and great. Oh, wonderful. So just feel free to gather around and we'll read this. And then I think, Melinda, you were going to say a few words?
I can.
Okay, that's great. All right. Whereas Women's History Month is an annual national celebration recognizing the remarkable contributions of women to culture and society, and whereas despite the significant contributions made by women throughout history, the role of women has been consistently overlooked and undervalued in leadership, literature, and the teaching and study of American history. But Women's History Month is a testament to how small actions can grow into large accomplishments. And whereas in 1908, 15,000 women in New York City marched for a shorter work week, better pay, and suffrage, and in February 1980, President Jimmy Carter issued the first presidential proclamation declaring the week of March 8, 1980 as National Women's History Week. And later, in 1987, the celebration was extended to a month when Congress passed a law designating March as Women's History Month. And whereas women of every race, class, and ethnic background have long been integral in the building and shaping of Napa County's economic, cultural, artistic, agricultural, and social landscape, women are a vital presence in every sector, contributing significantly to both the workforce and in volunteer efforts. And whereas Napa County made history in 2022 when for the first time a female majority was elected to serve on the Board of Supervisors, and whereas today women hold 50% of all elected positions in Napa County, and whereas the American Association of University Women Napa County branch was chartered in 1929 and since has advocated with vigor for gender equity for women and girls through educational scholarship and sponsorship programs representing the female voice on boards and commissions and launching initiatives to fight against racism, food insecurity, human trafficking, bullying, and more. And whereas the League of Women Voters of Napa County has equally served to empower women to not only engage and participate in their community, but also to lead and take an active role in our democracy, the League of Women Voters of Napa County has contributed significantly to bolstering women to make their voices heard and defend democracy through election protection, democratic reform, and equal access to the ballot. And whereas Napa County is home to an incredible community of dynamic women whose collective spirit, passion, and vision contributes invaluably to the essence of Napa Valley, forging unique paths as educators, healthcare workers, industry and nonprofit leaders, innovators, crusaders, entrepreneurs, tastemakers, and role models. These accomplished women embody skill sets as diverse and beautiful as the wine region surrounding us, making Napa County one of the most desirable places to live, work, and play in the nation. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that this Board of Supervisors, County of Napa, State of California, on this 12th day of March, does hereby recognize March 2024 as Women's History Month in Napa County. And in doing so, we encourage all members of the community to honor and celebrate the contributions of the women beside us, those who have come before us, and those who will follow in our footsteps. So congratulations and thank you.
Good morning. I'm Melinda Dittman, the co-president of the local Napa County branch of AAUW and the American Association of University Women. Our mission is to promote equity with women and girls through advocacy, philanthropy, and education. Our local Napa County branch has almost 200 members, and we're very proud to offer local scholarships to our high school and college students continuing their education, and also to offer programs and leadership roles for our local women. So thank you.
Thank you so much. My name is Sherry Thomas. I'm the current president of the League of Women Voters of Napa County. Just a few words about the League. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan grassroots organization to protect and expand voting rights and ensure everyone is represented in our democracy. We empower voters and defend democracy through advocacy, education, and litigation at the local, state, and national levels. League of Women Voters believes that the freedom to vote is a nonpartisan issue. For more than a century, we work to empower voters and demand democracy as a women-led organization. We encourage everyone to take part in our democracy. Napa is a voter's choice county which makes it about as easy to vote in an election as most of the country, yet we only had about 20% turnout in last week's presidential primary election. That says the League of Women Voters Napa County and the rest of the state still have a lot of work to do to encourage more voters to vote. So be a voter. Thank you.
All right, great, thank you. We're going to move on to our consent calendar for special districts. Any questions from the board? Do we have any comments on the special district consent calendar? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve 5A through E.
Second.
Motion by,
My apologies, 5A through H.
okay, great, thank you. Motion by Supervisor Ramos, second by Supervisor Gregory. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We are going to go ahead and move on to our regular consent calendar. Any comments from the board? And do I have any public comments? We also have a correction memo on 6R. And I will entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar as amended.
To the chair, if you don't mind, I'd make a comment on 6F
Yes,
as
please.
I make my motion. 6F is the merging of our mental health board and alcohol and drug board. I just want to thank Behavioral Health Director Cassandra Islami, who's in the back row, as well as Christine Hataya, who's our mental health board chair, who's also sitting next to Cassandra. They put a lot of work into this merger, and we've had a few joint sessions, and it's obvious that this is absolutely the right move for us. So thank you to you two.
Thank you for making that
With
comment.
that, I'll move to approve the
Great.
entire consent.
Thank you. Second? Okay, motion by Gregory, second by Cottrell. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Now we are moving on to number 7, our general public comment. This is for all matters not listed on the agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the Board of Supervisors and special districts. Do we have any general public comment this morning? Okay, we're going to move on then to, oh, here comes someone. Christine.
Christine Hatia, Chair of the Napa County Mental Health Board, now Behavioral Health Board. First of all, I want to thank Supervisor Gregory for explaining to the public what is happening, and I want to thank the board for approving this consolidation. I think that by doing this, we will make our Behavioral Health Board better aligned with our Napa County Behavioral Health Division. And we really look forward to working together. We have 5 members from ABAD who are joining us as Behavioral Health Board members, and I expect them to be really great contributors as we all look to provide oversight of our local programs and understand the needs of our community. So thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Okay, do any of my colleagues have reports or announcements? Oh, sorry. I don't see any numbers, but Supervisor Ramos.
I just wanted to say we do see that our colleague Supervisor Pedroza is not with us today, and that's because he is doing day 2 of advocacy with ABAG MTC. We were there yesterday, and I just wanted to share with my colleagues that we were there for the housing bond and a future transportation revenue measure, but it was really exciting to hear supervisors from other counties talk about the grant that Napa County received from BAFA for the $5 million of assistance to seniors. And I've got to say, I've never heard someone speak so proudly about money we're getting, but I wanted to share that because it really does set the stage of how we are going to address our housing insecurity and really for one specific demographic, and that this in fact has the ability to set the model for the state. So just shout out to our Director of Housing and Homeless Services, Jennifer Palmer, and to your team for devising this pilot program. And I just wanted to share it. That was really exciting to be in the room to hear other people talk about Napa's money.
Great, thank you so much. Supervisor Cottrell, do you have any reports?
Yeah, thank you, and good morning, Chair and board team. I had 2 items I wanted to report on. The first is I sat with our broadband team last week, and I have a couple of points from them. They recently completed the strategic plan and will be bringing that to the board sometime this spring, which will help us have a roadmap of where we can expand broadband services. We've received a lot of grant, and we're in progress on that, working with a contractor, Valley Internet, and we're in the design and engineering phases on that. And then finally, I would like to introduce our new broadband manager, Mark Rivas. We're happy to have him on the board, so thank you for that, on board. And then the other item I wanted to mention was I met with Up Valley Family Center recently, and they were the recipient of a grant from LISTOS, the LISTOS program, and as part of that grant, they were required to do a survey of residents who'd received services. And one of their takeaways was that particularly in rural areas after the winter storms of 2022, folks needed a little more information on how to prepare for storms, whether it's preparing for extended power outages, having food available, things like that. So to me, that kind of feedback is an opportunity for the county to partner with our nonprofits like COED and have our OES help lead some more education for folks so they feel prepared, because we know that often it can be up to 72 hours before folks can get help when we've got some of these extreme weather patterns. So I think it's just a good reminder that there's more we can do to educate our rural residents about preparing for disasters.
Thank you. Supervisor Gregory?
Yeah, maybe just a reminder for everybody, this Saturday, which should be a beautiful, warm spring day, is our Fire Resources Fair, or not ours, the Fire Resources Fair, put on by Napa Valley Vintners, Grape Growers, Firewise, and Cal Fire. Lots of great information there, and it's where the Napa Valley Expo. And that is this Saturday, 10 to 2. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I just wanted to mention that some of the electeds throughout the valley and staff have had the opportunity to take a workshop from Drew Isaacs, who is with University California, Berkeley, and he is with the business school, but he teaches climate and business, and it was an incredible day of learning. And I know that he will be conducting another day where he'll be working with electeds and staff, and I encourage staff and electeds who were invited to please try to make it. And I know that there will also be some public opportunities to work with Drew and be educated by him. It's really an incredible opportunity, and I would just encourage people that when he offers a workshop to please sign up. Okay. We are going to, let's see, no items pulled from consent. There are no administrative items for special districts. We're going to move on to our administrative items. Number 11A is to approve and authorize a letter opposing AT&T California's application with the California Public Utilities Commission for targeted relief from its carrier of last resort obligation. And I believe our analyst, Jasmine Elo, is going to be presenting that. And please feel free to introduce anyone else who's with you.
Hi, good morning, Chair Gallagher and members of the board. Jasmine Elo, Management Analyst with the County Executive Office. And I'm joined today with the broadband team for the county. We'd like to, again, welcome Mark Revis to the team as our broadband project manager. And also joined with Anthony Halstead, Library Director, and Jan Yesping, Chief Information Officer. The item before you today is a request to approve and authorize a letter opposing AT&T's application with the California Public Utilities Commission, the CPUC, for targeted relief from its carrier of last resort obligation. AT&T is currently required by the CPUC to provide landline services upon request to all residential and business customers within its service territory as carrier of last resort. AT&T estimates that around 1 million Californians rely on landlines. And so in March 2023, AT&T filed an application for relief from this obligation with the CPUC and provided notice to affected local customers and governments in early 2024. Other counties, including Marin and Sonoma, have submitted letters opposing the granting of AT&T's application. And last month, the Legislative Subcommittee approved this item for board consideration, as it is outside the scope of the county's legislative and regulatory platform.
Thank you, Jasmine. And as Jasmine mentioned, AT&T has requested COLR relief, and in doing so where it believes an alternative voice provider exists. The CPUC's universal rules does state a carrier may opt out of their COLR responsibilities when there are other COLRs providing services and assumes COLR responsibilities from that carrier. AT&T's request, however, does not provide any detail on replacement of COLR responsibilities in their existing service area. And keep in mind, their request covers about 99% of their service territory in California. As you already know, Napa County's rural communities have limited options for high quality and affordable telecommunication services. Many households rely on plain old telephone service or POTS, which is eventually will go away if AT&T's request is approved. The other aspect of this is during emergencies like natural disasters or power outages, residents and first responders heavily rely on access to 911 and 211 services. And residents rely on alerts and notifications during these times of emergencies. And so this is why we are so concerned with AT&T's request. As your board also knows, this broadband team has spent a good amount of time identifying areas in our county that are where there are areas of unserved broadband services. And we've identified, if you remember, 13 areas in our county, which is quite a bit. And now we would add to this lack of service if we add the POTS, if that's taken away from our residents. So granting caller relief without securing widespread alternatives would be unwise. And this will only add to our existing challenges that we have today for reliable connectivity in our rural communities. I'll now turn it over to Anthony.
As John mentioned, 911 service is critical. It's a critical lifeline in our communities. And so today we are requesting that you consider signing a letter addressed to the CPUC opposing the granting of AT&T California's application for targeted relief from its carrier of last resort obligation. A few more points. So AT&T states that alternatives are available in census blocks where they're requesting the COLR relief. However, this includes if a wireless carrier demonstrates its footprint covers 50% of the census block. Anyone who's traveled throughout our county knows that cellular coverage can be unreliable. Even when you do have a connection, it can drop off frequently because of our topography. The loss of POT services, or the plain old telephone services, would impact the county's most vulnerable residents, especially an older population or those in more geographically remote and rural areas without consistent cell phone reception that lack access to other alternative means to receive alerts and notifications. Having a resilient communications network is central to public safety, and AT&T's request for COLR relief is premature. We do hope that you'll sign the letter today, acknowledging that and making that request, and we are available for any questions that you might have of us.
Great, thank you so much. Supervisor Cottrell, I know that you've been working on this. Okay, that's the number that's up. Or whoever would like to go.
It was me.
Okay.
I very much appreciate the attention to this, and actually this came up yesterday as I was in Sacramento speaking with colleagues who were in other affected areas. And I think in looking at the list, and I think one of the things that bears including in our letter is a mention of truly the experience we had in 2017, that we had, because we lost a tower up on Atlas Peak on connectivity. We didn't have cellular service during that time. And even those people who believed that they had a POT, they thought they had the old copper lines, they realized they were actually on VoIP lines. And so I really think that we can strengthen our letter here by explaining that in those areas that are going to be cut off by POT, VoIP is not even an option in some of those areas, right? There's two ways of looking at phone lines, and I think this is also one of those areas where we're having to dig deeper into our rural character and to really explain what this means to us. But we know the circumstances when Malibu had fires and their city manager had to go to the lifeguard station to get an actual copper line on the beach. We've had these, and we were one of the first to experience this and that difference between VoIP and those undergrounded copper lines. And I think we would really be strengthening our letter and our advocacy here. We haven't achieved greater communication since that time. When we looked at the Broadband Coalition, one of the things we had talked about right after 2017 is how we took 2 steps back in terms of connectivity, and that those actual POTs are the only connectivity that some of these areas have. You know, as a former resident, I grew up in Berryessa Estates, and I don't know how many people know that. That was far more reliable than my cell phone is through Yountville these days. And so I really think we need to draw a little bit deeper. My suggestion would be for discussion to my colleagues that we draw a little bit deeper into this. On an average day, when you don't have any rainfall, when you don't have winds and everything is fine and no one has an emergency, maybe not a big deal. But on those days when we have been stricken by fire, when we have been stricken by flood, we need to make sure we have another alternative, especially for our rural residents. And I would also ask that as part of this, ask our CEO to work with staff and to really have a collection of a strengthened letter from RCRC, because this is an issue that affects rural communities far differently than just, yes, we are in the Bay Area, but this is a rural issue, and we really, as someone said to me, I can't believe AT&T would dare exit Napa County with what you've been through. And we need to take that tone a little harder on this letter. I too agree. I can't believe that they would dare leave our county and our residents high and dry with the absence of these pot lines, given our experiences that we have had time and time again since 2017. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Cottrell?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Supervisor Ramos. I'm happy to support adding 1 or 2 sentences to strengthen that. I do like keeping it to 1 page because I think that gets more efficiently read. But I also, Supervisor Greger and I had a good discussion with the broadband team in the legislative subcommittee on the needs here, and I just wanted to share too with our fellow board members that we talked about this a fair amount when we went to Washington, D.C., so that the message was being conveyed to electeds there as well. And to just build on what you're saying, as you said, on a good day driving south, I don't know how many times I've called CEO Alsop and dropped the call somewhere because of lack of cell coverage. So, and we've heard from so many residents on this issue. We have a letter from a Napa resident, but Pope Valley, Angwin, Calistoga, all over. So I don't think we need this letter to come back to the board. I'd like to give the chair discretion to review any changes and sign that way. But I'm happy to follow up on attaching an RCRC letter. Well, we have a board meeting there tomorrow. And yeah, so thank you to the team for the work here, and also Andrew Mize, who helped out as well. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Supervisor Gregory?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. It's been said. I think a key word was premature. Speaking on behalf of my district, there's no alternative. So this is a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think that, of course, we're going to oppose this, and it's actually really very, very troubling. And so I concur. Let's dig in a little deeper on the letter, and we will do that. Do we have any idea where the PUC is on this? And I'm assuming we've talked to our statewide legislators and others, just kind of trying to get a feel for what might happen.
Yeah, at this point, we do not know where they're at, but in addition to the letters that you mentioned have been sent, there are a couple in our consortium also have sent letters as well. So we're seeing a lot of letters going to the CUPC. So hopefully, that will convince them otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't have any information on where that's at this point.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. The technical difficulties include my button here. It doesn't work. So I appreciate you recognizing me. We will make sure the letter is reflective of the tone that I'm hearing from your board, and make sure that is squared away. I would also suggest, and I'd like to make part of what you vote on today, of getting all 5 of your signatures on the letter, having it be a 5-signature letter. I know Supervisor Pedrosa's not here today, but I'm surmising that he would probably sign on to this, but have it be all 5 of you, making sure that that's going to all the right people, not just at the CPUC, but our legislative delegation. I'd also suggest that we work to make sure the letter is received by all the different jurisdictions up and down the valley, including some critical stakeholders, whether it's Napa Firewise or the Fire Safe Councils. So we have critical mass, making people aware that this is going on, and then they can do their own advocacy. So that would just be a suggestion I would make. The 5 signatures, I would add it to the motion or the item that you're taking up today.
Great, that's a great suggestion. Do I have any public comment on this item? Okay, we'll bring it back to the board. Supervisor Ramos? No, yes.
Yes, it's me.
It's both of you.
I just had another referral to our CEO on this matter. And when we look back at our after action from 2017 and our failed cellular towers and the difficulty that we had in getting the cows, the cellular on wheels, back into the county to provide that connectivity. We were really relying on these pots to be able to have that communication. So I don't know if this is in Mr. Shu's department with the Fire Services Administrator, but as we look at resiliency and this BRIC grant, and I think one of the things needs to be, if this is coming, we need to be prepared for what does connectivity look like for us in the event of another failed tower. When those the infrastructure of those towers fail, it leaves us with crickets. We need to, I think, also be looking at how we are going to prepare for if and when this comes. We may be successful at this first round of the CPUC, but this is not the first time. AT&T has been investing a lot of money to go full into cellular for years, and this is their boldest move yet. And so I think we really need to start looking from a preparedness standpoint and from a hazard mitigation standpoint, how we're going to prepare our residents and our public safety for communications in the event that this is happening. So we have BRIC dollars, and I have heard that, you know, it's hard to spend $50 million, and we might have just come up with something, but I leave that in your capable hands with staff to really start thinking about how we plan for what this is going to look like in the future.
Great. Supervisor Cottrell?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'm supportive of the CEO's suggestions. Those make sense that we have all 5 signatures and that distributing the letter to the jurisdictions. And I just want to say, I know that 2 city council members from St. Helena, Mayor Doring and Councilmember Shuto, have written a letter to the CPUC as well. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion from the board? Okay, I have a motion from Ramos. Second from Cottrell. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, great. Thank you so much. And we'll be working to get that done.
Thank you.
Very important. Okay, 11B is to receive the fiscal year 2023-24 mid-year budget review and approve the budget amendments per the attached report. I believe, Mr. Sanchez, you're going to be presenting.
Okay, all right.
Oh, we have it though, right?
You should have the PowerPoint.
Yes, so board members, you do have that handout.
And the handout is available for the public right outside the door in the small little holder that's adjacent.
Great, thank you. Whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much. I'm Daniel Sanchez, Senior Management Analyst in the CEO's office. We're going to be going over the mid-year fiscal review. And you all have PowerPoint slides, and I'll let Neha know when it's time to move on. So the budget's a pretty delicate balancing act, and we have to balance the needs of different funds and community needs, but also it's a time to reflect on what has occurred in the last 6 months, mostly focusing on the general fund. The staff at the CEO's office regularly monitors the budget and revise revenues and expenditures throughout the fiscal year. And for the mid-year report, we prepare a forecast of our major funding sources. Next slide. Oh, that one's good. Previous one. There we go. So this slide is the big picture so what on what's going on, and I'll briefly go over these numbers and likely come back to it at the end. So our general fund projected ending fund balance is $54 million, and that's the bottom right, or bottom in the middle of it. Total revenues after a 6-month mid-year period are projected to be $278 million, with $177 million from taxes, and the rest of them from items like transfers, fees for services, fines, and there'll be another slide that explains that a little bit further. Our estimated, total estimated expenditures for the 6-month period, 6-month mid-year period is 287, which is $13 million less than we budgeted. Next slide. So now I'm going to go over our revenues. Property tax is estimated at $149 million, which is $26 million higher than estimated. But, although it sounds good, but it's only because we are recognizing $25 million in excess ERAF, and that's based on the recently adopted budget policy guidelines. So if you take that $25 million that we are recognizing away, the number changes quite a bit. Tax revenues are primarily, of course, discretionary revenues, and non-tax revenues typically have restrictions on them. So they're for items that are often associated with fines and fees. And so the restrictions are often that the revenue from that has to go back into that service. Both transient occupancy tax and sales tax are estimated to be less than what was in our budget. These two revenue sources are most sensitive to market conditions, and we're therefore not surprised that they're taking a bit of a dip. We're projecting that they're going to be taking a bit of a dip, and this pretty well aligns with what was in the 5-year forecast a few weeks ago. We do expect that because they're sensitive to market conditions, this year, probably next year as well, we're going to see either a dip or very, very modest growth in those. Next slide. So now I'm going to go over another important revenue source for our departments, and this is Prop 172. It is a half-cent statewide sales tax, and it's based on the proportionate sale of taxable sales. So it is a little bit different than our standard sales tax. This is a statewide sales tax, and the funding calculations are therefore slightly different, which is why the trend is slightly different. This Prop 172 funds our law and justice and public safety departments, and the revenue here is mostly flat. Although it is a slight increase from what we budgeted, it's a slight increase from the actuals, it's mostly flat. And again, because it's mostly flat, it's not nearly enough to keep pace with the rising costs of operations. And given that, the difference ends up having to be made up by the general fund. Next slide. Here are general fund's major expenditures. Net expenditures are projected to be $6.4 million less than what was in the budget. Salary and benefits are our largest expense, since that's where our people, since those are our people. And we're projecting this expense to be slightly lower than what we budgeted. Similarly, service and supplies are also projected to be less than what we budgeted. As I've mentioned previously in the 5-year forecast, we often budget and project expenses will be higher than what we end up realizing, and so that's why we expect that at the 6-month period, these two expenses are less than what was in the budget. Next slide. So I'm going to briefly go over our assumptions. Again, the focus is on the general fund, since this is where many of the taxes go into. This is what we really have discretion over, and this supports some of our largest, more high-profile services. We are again assuming the annual budget policy guidelines have been adopted, and that again plays into mainly this year and the fact that we're recognizing excess ERAF. Again, the estimated ending fund balance will be the available fund balance for next fiscal year. So what we project to be the ending fund balance for this year ends up being the beginning fund balance for the upcoming recommended budget. And what we're doing here, with the point of the mid-year, is really to assess the general fund's condition through 2 quarters of the fiscal year. So throughout the year, county staff does an extraordinary amount of work on behalf of the Napa community. We're going to focus on a few highlights. Of course, there's quite a bit more to this, but here are some of the highlights that are really worth pointing out. On roads, last year, our county raised its pavement condition index from 45 to 53. although it may not seem like a lot, it does mean we've gone from poor to close to, very, very close to achieving fair. And that push it does require quite a bit of investment. And so we're absolutely moving in the right direction there, and over 45 miles of roads were paved. And in 2024, we're projecting that 42 miles will be paved. One thing to point out, though, is that the number may drop, though, as the PG&E settlement money does dry up. So that money may, or that, because the input money may change, it may end up meaning that in the coming years, there'll be less resources available for that. So, to the next slide. One of the things that, one of the other major areas to highlight are that we recently adopted two of the largest important contracts for the county. One was adopted last fiscal year, and that was the CAL FIRE contract, but the other one that was adopted is the Napa Communities Firewise Foundation, the NCFF contract, very recently, which was $7 million for wildfire mitigation, fuel reduction, and preparing for wildfires. Furthermore, the fire administration team is being built out and has been built out, but and the fire marshal team is also being hired. In the coming fiscal year, we're going to be preparing for the FEMA BRIC and HMGP grant program, and we do expect that the fire administrator is going to be speaking to you all more not today, but in our upcoming meeting, quite a bit more about that. So that is a big lift that's going to be happening, or that we're preparing for this fiscal year and into the next one. Slide 9. Oops, next slide. Thank you. Behavioral health has consolidated into a single behavioral health division. It's completed a strategic plan and completed the community health assessment. That's another major area to highlight. Next slide. One other important thing to note that's happened in the mid-year is adding staff. Many of the positions that we've added have been add-delete, so the net is 0. But during the fiscal year, we have added a handful of positions. They're highlighted here. One important one to note is our contract, the Sheriff's Office contract with American Canyon continues to grow as that community builds out and the need also grows. So one of the positions that we've added, one of the key positions that we've added this fiscal year has been a new sergeant position that's for American Canyon specifically. As I mentioned, other important positions that we've added within this fiscal year are the fire project manager, who's going to be critical in managing our BRIC grants, and we will be adding a deputy fire marshal within the current fiscal year to further build out the fire marshal team. During mid-year, certain departments need to spend also beyond what's in their what's in their budget. When this happens, what we do is we move appropriation for contingency funds into that department. There's several instances where that has happened, 6 instances where that has happened, and I could highlight and go into those more should the need arise. And finally, our request is to review and accept the mid-year fiscal review and approve budget amendments that are within the attachment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sanchez. Do I have any questions from my colleagues? Okay. Do we have any public comment on this item? Okay, Supervisor Gregory?
Thank you. A question. Well, first, this is a chance to recognize our strengths and our wins. The slide that showed our revenues split between property tax, TOT, sales tax, I think there's a couple storylines in there. The first is we're not at the mercy of TOT and sales tax. When those dip with the economy or grow, they don't have a big impact on our budget like they do our cities, and that'll be a storyline for our cities and their budgets coming up, I think. But then also the strength of our property tax, given that we're not even urbanized. We've got such great property tax revenue while still being agricultural, and that's a huge storyline. So do we, I know we may not know today, so I want to ask you that, but maybe when the budget book comes out and we tell that story in the front narrative section, that we dig into that context?
Yeah.
Tell us what other counties, where other counties are, and how we relate. And I think it'll just, as we always say, tell our story of how strong we are as an agricultural community. Thank you.
Okay. All right, and I think I already called for public comment. I didn't see any. All right, I'll bring it back to the board and entertain a motion.
I will move staff's recommendation.
All right, thank you. Motion by Gregory.
I'll second, and I'll also just say thank you to Mr. Sanchez for the report and for giving us a quick snapshot of how things are going. Appreciate Supervisor Gregory's point too.
Thank you. And the second by Supervisor Cottrell. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you.
All right. We do not have any public hearings for special districts. Okay. We've got a couple of requests for continuances here under public hearings. So I'm going to open the public hearing for 13A open, and I'm going to be looking for we have a request actually to continue the public hearing for an amendment to the county's conflict of interest code. Actually, a continuance to April 9th at 9 o'clock. Do I have any comments from the board? Do I have any comments on the continuance from the public? Okay, I'll bring it back to the board. Do I have a motion?
Move to continue.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion to continue from Gregory, second from Cottrell. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we have another continuance. I'm going to open the public hearing for Sentinel LLC Inglenook Residence Appeal. This is the appeal filed by Water Audit California to the Napa County Planning Commission's decision on November 15, 2023 to approve a use permit exception to the conservation regulations filed by Adobe Associates on behalf of Niebaum Coppola Estate Winery to allow a private access road to encroach into the creek setback in order to serve existing agricultural structures and a potential future residence. Do I have any questions or comments? Do I have any public comments on the continuance, the request? All right, I will entertain a motion to continue to June 11th, 2024 at 9.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Cottrell, seconded by Gregory. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Okay. That is done as well. We do not have any closed session items, and so we will go ahead and move to adjournment to the Board of Supervisors regular meeting Tuesday, March 26, 2024 at 9 a.m.